Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. All right, we are live. Welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts, episode number 543, or 543 as a normal person would say it. Today is the 23rd of April, 2025. We are rolling correctly today. If you want to see some hijinks, you can go back and watch episode 542 where we use Google Meet. Luckily today Zoom is working and appears to be going. So other than that, we've got a couple of quick announcements. And then we're going to be jumping into answering your local SEO questions. So Chris, I'm going to start with you. How are things going?
Doing good. Had a quite good Easter break. Recharged a bit in nature. Got also a slight little sunburn, which is crazy for April. But yeah, like now I'm ready and refreshed and looking forward to a great week.
Nice. Well, same here. Yeah, went out for a run this afternoon before Hump Day Hangouts, and we actually had consistent sunshine. And this is probably the first week it's felt like spring, and which is kind of wild. So, enjoying that. Bradley, how about you?
Yeah, super busy with all kinds of crazy stuff going on with personal issues with trying to buy this. I'm supposed to be supposed to close on my house on Monday in Pikeville. It got delayed a few days, so still don't have the new closing date set. But in addition to supposed to be closing on my new home, my investment property with the tiny home and everything has been like we the construction started again now that it's spring and the weather's good enough that they could do it. So now, right at the time that I'm leaving the area that I've been at for a year and a half in a freaking RV so that I can move into a house, now is the time that I need to be here. Son of a bitch, just shitty timing. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge getting the construction work done, and at the same for my investment property at the same time that I'm trying to move to Pikeville, which is only an hour from here, but all of my stuff from, my previous home is all in Northern Virginia, which is a 6-hour drive from here. So over the next month or to 6 weeks, it's just going to be really hectic, man. So, but, other than that, things are good.
Fair enough.
And business is good.
Everything
So
else is fine and
that's right.
uneventful, and yeah.
That's right.
Well, I got a couple quick ones I wanted to mention to people. Of course, there's Hump Day Hangouts, and if you're listening to me, you're watching it. So congratulations. That's the first step. But that's asking questions you have. And that's great because everybody has questions. Everybody is at different levels. Everybody needs help in different ways. But something that you may not or you don't have access to right now is what's working for a successful agency owner and what are they testing and what are they doing. And in the near future, we're going to be rolling out an addition to our email. Now, right now, we already sent out some great information. It's based on, what people asked during Hump Day Hangouts, some of the most popular questions. We share the answers and, helpful responses with people through email. We're also going to start sharing what's going on with Bradley, what he's thinking about, the deep dives he's been taking, what's testing, and what's working. This will be a paid newsletter in addition to the regular newsletters going out, but wanted to get the word out. If you have any questions, pop it into the comments, whether you're live or you're watching the replay, and we will get back to you, and we'll be sure to let you know when that's going to be launching. However, if you are not on the Semantic Mastery email list, you should head over semanticmastery.com. Get on there. Like I said, we already send out a ton of great information, and then that's the best way to be notified when this launches. Last but not least, if you like podcasts and you're more of an audio person on the go, and you don't maybe use YouTube Premium, or you don't have a way to watch the videos when you're on the move, you can check out Hump Day Hangouts on Spotify, and you'll need to check the link in the chat. I'm going to drop it there, but you can check it out, subscribe on Spotify, and get all that goodness there. Cool. So that's it, guys. I think unless there's anything else we need to do, let's get into the questions.
Right.
Do
Give
it.
me 1 second. Yeah. Guys, preparing for some questions that I see. So Go ahead and grab the screen and we'll get into it. There. Sweet. Okay, guys, let me resize all this stuff, get it out of the way as normal. Zoom is always in the way on the laptop. It's irritating as hell. Where is chat?
There we go.
About chat. Oh. All right. Sorry, guys. I've been a bit of a crazy day for me, so I'm a little bit behind on everything. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We'll get started with the questions that starting on the day that they were posted during the Hump Day Hangout session last week. Because remember, guys, we didn't have Zoom last week because Zoom was down at this time. So we ended up having to do everything via Meet, and it was a bit weird. So there's a lot of stuff I didn't get to cover. So we're going to start with the questions that were posted on Hump Day Hangout Day last week. And then we're going to, once we finish the questions from that point forward, we'll go back to questions that I didn't get answered from the previous weeks. Kind of jump around a little bit, but we'll try to get as much of these answered as possible. All right, so we're going to start with Huzzy's question, excuse me. He says, let me zoom in on it a little bit. Does building citation vault links to the ID page tied to the money site give the money site a similar amount of juice than if you were to just build citation vault links directly to the money site? No, because link equity just splits across all the links on the page. And if you think about what we do with an ID page, we are literally linking to every page URL that has accurate information published about that business location. Like that's the whole point of the ID page. It is a centralized resource, a dedicated centralized resource that consolidates and references all of the location or page URLs in Google's index, and even those that aren't indexed yet, but we want Google to index in one central location that then we build links to. I'm trying to move all this shit around so I can get to it. For God's sakes, man. Stand by. All right, so here's the local link building diagram. And so again, the ID page becomes a resource. That's what an ID page is for. It's a URI, a unique resource identifier, that when present or when available is supposed to be for the search engine bots to be able to have a resource that they can go to validate or corroborate local entity information. That is how an ID page should be used for local business schema. Okay, and so the ID page then becomes a consolidation of all of the page URLs that have accurate information published about the business, those that are in Google's index and those that we want Google to index. So we typically are going to embed or direct hyperlink to each of the primary assets, right? So we've got things like the Press Advantage organization page, the main money site, the location landing page is what that is. This is a batch geomap. These are citation vault links or the citation vault profile, Google Business Profile Map embed, NAP information, links to service pages. You can have links to location pages over here. We didn't put them in here in this one. Social media, all of that. And then in the G sheet, right, the Google sheet, which is where all the other URLs that aren't the primary ones, but are supporting and branded assets and citations, etc., they all get concatenated into the G sheet. So if we just open up one of these links, we'll see that's going to the Facebook page for this business. And there it goes. I'm not logged in this browser, but Box Tree Care. So we can just click through a bunch of these, and all of these are going to various, business directory listings or whatever. And so when you build a link to a page, you guys understand the link equity splits evenly across all the links within the content body of that page. And there is some that flows through navigational links and things like that, but those are treated differently. They don't get as much link equity. I'm not sure. I don't have any way of calculating that. I know there's formulas for that kind of shit. I have no idea how those are done, nor do I even care. What I'm saying is the bulk of the link equity is going to be flowing through any of the links that are in the content body, within the body tags of the page. Because again, any links that are outside of the body tags are treated differently, right? They're not weighted as significantly. Yes, they will receive some link equity, but not like the links from within the body tags, which are contextual links, if that makes sense. So the point is, whenever you're building links to the ID page, it's going to just split that link equity across all those page URLs. So it's not going to be nearly as much. But Why would anybody want to build spammy citation vault links directly to their main website? I see SEOs do it all the time because I get campaigns submitted to me where we see citation vaults link pointed to them. It is a clear footprint, number one. Number two, they're all the same. They all look the same. They typically have errors. Citation vault is buggy as hell. It's so there's all time errors all the time. I mean, I could demonstrate that actually, if I pause the screen very quickly, I'll just show you because I think it's important for you guys to know. Like, there's a reason why we do not link. God damn it. Okay, that's what it is. There's a reason why we do not link to the money site with citation vault because, again, that could create problems for the site. So, but the ID page, because it's on an Amazon S3 bucket, right? It has high domain authority, which I typically don't care. I don't give two shits about, honestly. I don't really care much about DA, but there are certain instances where that's important. High DA, high DR, et cetera. And this is one of those cases where an ID page, I know you guys are waiting on me, but I'm waiting for a page to load. An ID page is on an Amazon S3 bucket so that we can be more aggressive with link building to the ID page. Okay, so let me give you an example. What I mean by citation vault's a bit, but it's always buggy. It's not a bit buggy. It's not sometimes buggy. It's always buggy. So like, here's the 300 citations that are linking to the Box Tree Care ID page. And if we go open it up, let's see if it's even working this time. Well, right now, see, there's always stuff broken. Right now, this is actually one of the best looking pages that I've seen in a while from Citation Vault, because typically these are all broken images. A lot of the times there's code here instead of actual like description, like, because it's screwed up and sometimes it pulls in the wrong locations entirely. Like, so it's just really buggy. And I don't know why anybody would want to point these kind of links directly to their money site. The reason why we do it to the ID page is because, again, the ID page is on a very high domain authority URL, which means we can be a lot more aggressive with it in velocity as well as anchor text. When our anchor text profile can be a lot more leaned or slanted into keywords versus brand anchors. So just as a quick example, like this money site page is over optimized with the backlink profile, but it's only 2 links. But typically with the ID page, we're going to be building, we can be a lot more aggressive. Let me just show you. If we look at the tier 1 links for this campaign, right? And just so you guys know, at tier 1, we're typically going to do an anchor text link to the money site, an anchor text link to the ID page, and usually a Google Map embed, Google Business Map embed, right? And so if you look at the tier 1 links here, what are the anchor text types that we've used almost exclusively for the brand name, or excuse me, for the website, the main self-hosted site? So the money site anchor is almost always going to be a brand anchor because that's what Google tells us it wants to see. And again, we do this data analysis every single month for every single client, for every keyword that we do the competitive link analysis for. So every month we regenerate this data. And what do we see time and again? We see the average of the top ranked competitors is almost always primarily in the brand/URL anchor text category. So at tier 1 for the money site, we're going to focus on brand anchors, as you can see here, almost exclusively. But then the ID page, what are we doing here? Take a look at the anchor text types here. It's almost exclusively keyword anchors. The keyword anchor text types are going to be topic and target anchors because there's 5 anchor text types here. These are non-brand, or excuse me, these are non-keyword anchors, so you cannot over-optimize for these 3 types. But you can over-optimize for these 2 types because these are keyword anchors. A target anchor is a keyword plus location modifier. A topic anchor is a keyword-only anchor, right? So at tier 1, again, why? So just to be clear, what we are wanting to do with Citation Vault, but a lot of these won't even index. By the way, if Citation Vault URLs will not index, doesn't that tell you that they're not good quality links, or else they would index? So let me give you a quick example on that, because I think it's a good question, but I get this kind of question from people all the time about Citation Vault. And, you know, I want to prove it with data here, guys. So just give me a second while I show you. This is a link crawler that I use because it's a lot less expensive than an index. And so for Box Tree Care, I want you guys to see how many times I've submitted the 300 Citation Vault links to this web crawler. 3 times I've submitted all 300 of these links because all I do is pull up the view links for the particular campaign. and I'm going to click link go for extract all links. And then I go over here and I scroll down till I get to the bottom of the list, which is going to be right there. Actually, looks like, see, they probably updated it again. I think they did because I'm seeing, no, that's good. That's good. Just, it looks a little bit different. That might have been why it was broke too. But right there is, in the last week, just so you know, a lot of these citation vault links were saying 404. Some of them were saying error establishing database connection. Again, this is normal for citation vault. We see this all the time. It is a very buggy system that has spammy links. So I don't even understand why SEOs would ask the question. I'm not picking on you, the Huzzy or whoever asked the question. Okay, I'm not picking on you. I hope you understand that. But to me, if you just review what the citation vault links are and what they look like, and the fact that they don't index, that it's hard for them to index. They do index, but you have to submit them multiple times. You guys can see I've submitted this on the January 11th, February 19th, then March 7th. And it's all 300 links each time. It's been crawled. Every one of those links have been crawled 3 times by the Google bots, as you can see, right? And what are we looking at here in the indexing rate? If we go take a look at the backlink profile for the the ID page, if I can pull that up, got so many damn tabs open now, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's 28 links that have been indexed to the ID page out of 300 from Citation Vault. And if we go take a look at the actual backlinks that have been indexed that are pointing to the ID page, even though I've had 300 Citation Vault links crawled 3 separate times, we can see that the links that have been indexed are not Citation Vault links. What are the links that have been indexed? They're the links that I've built right here, right? So that's these, these are the backlinks that are indexed. So the point that I'm trying to make is I do try to get the links indexed, but from Citation Vault that are pointing links to the ID page so that we can pillow the ID page anchor text profile with brand/URL anchors, a very high quantity of them, so that as we're building anchor text, keyword anchor text links, as shown here, to the project, and here you can see the types here, right? So as we're building links to the ID page, links that have measurable value, which is what we're showing right here, right? Look at the trust flow values of these links right here, guys. In this, and by the way, look at the overall summary of the trust flow flowing into this ID page. Every one of those are relevant categories for a tree service contractor. Wouldn't you agree? Right? And so you see the trust flow value, that becomes important only when the backlinks are relevant, right? And so the backlink profile that is pointing to the ID page right now is optimized with proper relevant links with proper topical trust flow categories that have proper, if we look at the backlinks, here's the trust flow values of the individual links. There's the topical trust flow categories. And none of those from the Citation Vault, except for the primary Citation Vault URL that we build links to, we don't build links to all the other 300. But those are pretty much the only ones that have been indexed. There's a handful of them right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like there's 6 Citation Vault links that have been indexed out of 300 that I've submitted at least 3 separate times. Does that make sense, guys? So the reason why we do that, though, is because if you look at the anchor text that we use, it's a URL anchor. I always set it in Citation Vault settings. I set it to use the brand name as the anchor text, and it never does. It always uses the URL as the anchor text. But that's still in the brand/URL anchor text category or type. So the point is we try to use Citation Vault, and when that fails, the next option is press releases. Press releases are significantly more expensive, though, than a Citation Vault submission, right? And so in either case, we use Citation Vault or press releases to then build brand anchors, or in this case, a URL anchor, which I don't like to use URL anchors at all, period. I think URL anchors are dumb. Just you all are clear about that. I think anchor text should be descriptive of what it is linking to. So use anchor text. Instead of a URL anchor, use a brand anchor instead. That's what I always do. We do not build URL anchors at Semantic Links unless a client submits a one-off order with a URL anchor, in which case we do that because that's what they submitted. But for my link building campaigns that I manage and that we manage, which are the fully managed link building subscriptions, we don't build URL anchors. Citation Vault does, but it's not by choice. I always set it to use the company name as the anchor, but it never does. It does on the Citation Vault profile itself, which I think I had showed. I can find wherever the hell it is again. It does on that one, but on all the other ones, here we go. On all the other ones, you'll see right there, it says box tree care like it should. But on all the distribution points, it's always the URL anchor. But in either case, even though I don't like to use those end up becoming brand anchors, right? So those are brand/URL anchors. So the point is we're trying to, and that needs to be updated, but we're trying to increase the anchor text ratio initially to have it primarily in the brand/URL anchor text category, right? So the primary anchor text type should be brand/URL, so that as we're building straight up keyword anchors from more powerful relevant links with relevance, right? Measurable relevance and measurable link equity, then it will respond well to those. So the answer to the question is no. You will not get as much link equity pushed to the money site when you're building links to the ID page. But why would you ever want to push link equity from Citation Vault links to the money site directly when it's buggy all the time? It's a footprint. It's plain as day, and a lot of those do not index. Like, I mean, again, I've got campaigns sometimes where we'll get as many as 150 of the 300 Citation Vault links indexed, and I don't know why some index and some don't, because they're all the same. Every single one of those pages is the exact same, like the formatting, the structure, everything. The details are different within the page, obviously, but the structure is the exact same. So I don't know why some campaigns they index better and some campaigns they don't, but never do we get all of them indexed. Well, I wouldn't say never, but it's very, very, very rare. The vast majority of them are very difficult to get indexed. I mean, most campaigns that I submit to CoLinkry have been submitted multiple times. At least I do it at least twice for every single client that we manage, where we submit the Citation Vault links at least twice to the crawlers, and in some cases more than twice. So that's why I'm saying, again, guys, the ID page becomes a critical asset because you can be a lot more aggressive with a lot of different things using the ID page. Okay. Anyway, good question. Moving on. Jess says, I have a roofing company looking to rebrand. You said before to maximize for brand name. What's the best new name that maximizes local SEO and map pack rankings? Excuse me. Example, Delgado Roofing, family name, versus San Diego Roofing location, versus Elevate Roofing generic, versus Parrot Roll Roofing random unique name. I would go with Delgado Roofing. If that's like the family name of the company owner or something like that, I would. Now, again, anything that's brand up, and why I say that is because it's Delgado Roofing. I would do a brand search for that first and just see what else comes up. As long as if Delgado Roofing, which we can just demonstrate this right now. Let me close that now so we're out of that browser before I reveal shit that I shouldn't reveal. So Delgado Roofing, you see that is a fairly common name, or at least there's a Delgados. It looks like there's several of them though, because it looks like we've got a few different, but that's okay as long as there's no Delgado Roofing or something very similarly named in any nearby areas that is nearby their service area. Your roofing company or roofing contractor, client or whatever, as long as there aren't other Delgado Roofings or very similarly named companies in the same general area, you can run with that. But what I always recommend, again, is just because it does make it more difficult to establish as a unique entity. Remember, Google is going hyperlocal, so and it has been. So as long as there's no other competitors in the nearby to the service area of that business that with the same or similar name, Google's going to detect where they're searching from. I'm not in Atlanta, Georgia, but Google thinks I am because I'm using a Starlink. Okay. But so Google's going to return, for the most part, businesses that are more relevant to that search query, that branded search, based upon where the search is coming from, if that's clear. But even then, I still don't recommend it. If you see that there are multiple other companies very similarly named, pick something else, right? Try to find a unique name that has got little to no competition or no others that are similarly named, right? Very, very few, if possible, because it makes it so much easier to establish as an entity, like a local business brand, when it's not when it doesn't have to disambiguate itself from other similarly named businesses. Does that make sense? So, you could add a modifier. So, for example, if you're targeting San Diego, right? Let's play around with this for a little bit. It's a great question. San Diego, let's go to Wikipedia. Okay. So San Diego, I believe, is in San Diego County. That's correct. Is a city on the Pacific Coast. And it's in the Pacific, so Southern California. Now that would be a huge area. That's a very large region, so I probably wouldn't use that. But I think there's a San Diego County. I'm not in California, but I've done enough audits that I'm pretty sure there's a San Diego County. Yes. Okay. So San Diego County would be broader than San Diego. And then San Diego County, depending on how big of a service area that your client wants to target, I would either, maybe add like a modifier like San Diego County to the brand name, which you could do because that's now a unique it's a location modifier that would make that brand name that seems to like it may have some similar brands out there in other areas, right? Then that would make that specifically unique. So Delgado Roofing of San Diego County. If San Diego County is not really broad enough, because again, I don't know what the service area is, then you could go to the next larger region, which would be San Diego comprises the San Diego, Chula Vista, Carlsbad, California statistical area. So I don't know if it has a separate kind of, let's say, greater San Diego. Let's just take a quick look and see. Like, for example, it might be the Bay Area. I'm not sure because, again, I'm not familiar with the greater San Diego. Anyways, whatever the next largest San Diego metropolitan area. There we go, right there. San Diego metropolitan area may refer to San Diego metropolitan statistical area or the San Diego Tijuana metropolitan area. So one of those would be what I would use is probably the greater region if their service area is larger than San Diego County. In this example is what I'm saying. So, and by the way, just so you know, you can usually find the San Diego County is the greater the region. Do you see that? All that is the San Diego metropolitan statistical area is a region that is it's the same as San Diego County is what that's saying. And if you click on tools, what links here, hide transclusions and hide links, thanks to one of my members of my mastermind, Nolan, he's the one that showed me this trick. It's awesome. But these, again, right there, you see that is a synonym that can be used for San Diego County or the San Diego metro area because they're one and the same, and that is Greater San Diego. So that is the term that I would use. You understand? So if you were going to go that route, so it's either pick a unique brandable name that has little to no other similarly named companies and go with that doesn't contain any location modifier of any sort, or pick a name like this that is at least unique somewhat, even though there might be some other similarly named businesses out there, but then add a modifier that doesn't limit or restrict the company's ability to expand at a later date. That's why you don't want to put just Delgado Roofing San Diego, because if they serve any area outside of the city of San Diego or at some point in the future want to, that's going to limit the kind of effectiveness of the site because the brand name has San Diego in it. So that's why I would use a larger regional modifier, such as Greater San Diego, because Greater San Diego, if you go take a look, remember, Greater San Diego is only a synonym of San Diego metropolitan area, statistical area, or San Diego County. They're all the same. They're all synonyms. These are all synonyms. Excuse me if I back up. These are all synonyms that can be used interchangeably for San Diego County, California. And so if you take a look, this is a large county. If you look at communities, here's all the communities that are within San Diego County. Every one of those, you guys see every one of these here are the main cities, census designated places, unincorporated communities. So these are all supporting location pages that could be added to the site for any of them that are relevant for the service area of that business. So that's why I'm saying I would use, if I was going to use Delgado Roofing, I would probably do Delgado Roofing of Greater San Diego or something like that, right? That could be another way that you do it, is make the brand name include a regional location modifier, which is now going to make that brand name 100% unique and specific. Does that make sense? So there's just, you got to think about it, guys. It's way easier to establish a branded location entity, or a brand entity, but it could be a multi-location brand. So for a particular location, if you have a unique name, if it's very similar to others, or it's a common name, or it's similar, there's a other similarly named businesses, right? Then you're always going to be, it's like going into a fight with one arm tied behind your back. You're going to be at a disadvantage. So I don't recommend that. Okay. There are ways, again, that you can modify names to make them more appropriate, more valid, and improve SEO performance without it being spammy. Okay. And not generic. San Diego Roofing, absolutely not. I would not go with that as that is a generic search query. That's the worst thing that you can do. And I see SEOs still doing that all day, all the time, where you're using a generic business name, a generic search query as the business name, and then they wonder why they're having a hard time ranking now. Ranking in maps, I mean. By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but exact match domains have made a crazy resurgence in ranking. Like, like stupid. It's unbelievable. I've been doing, I do 5 to 7 audits a week, and in at least five, if 5 to 10 competitive link analysis reports per week. And I do those myself. My team prepares all the written stuff, but I review the data and record videos for all of those. And I'm telling you guys, I'm seeing in the top ranked search results, the top 5 competitors for local search queries right now, all kinds of exact match domains that have basically zero SEO, like any relevant SEO metrics, like meaning like backlink profiles. I'm seeing ranking exact match domains for local search queries right now that have basically no backlinks whatsoever. And they're ranking among other competitors that have decent link profiles with proper relevance, proper anchor text, everything else. And I'm seeing a lot of that right now. I'm not telling anybody out there to go out and start buying exact match domains. My guess is one of the recent algorithm updates that Google has made, it might have been the March core algorithm update, I don't know which one it was, but one of those, there's an unintended consequence where I've seen in local search right now, exact match domains that is keyword plus city are ranking like crazy right now, even though they have no business ranking, honestly. So I don't expect to see that to last very long. But who knows? Google's buggy, Google's broken, and so all the time, I expect to see those things that are ranking really well right now, and I don't expect it to last. But it could be 3-4 months down the road they're still ranking. I don't know, but I'm just seeing a lot of that right now. Okay. Anyway, moving on. I spent a lot of time on those first 2 questions, so I got to try to roll through some of these quicker. I apologize for that, guys, but I want to be thorough in my answers as always. So the next question is from Eric. He says, "What is the new URL structure to see only the knowledge panel? It looks like KP only is out of date. Damn it, that's in the mastermind. Shit. I don't know if I'll be able to dig that up in time, guys. Let me see if I can pull it up very quickly in Circle. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it any reasonable amount of time, guys. So I'm sorry, but I'll have to come back to that. Yeah, I'll have to come back to that. Sorry, guys. So I apologize, Eric, but I'd have to look for that. So Josh says, "Can you explain the difference between the hyperlocal lead system and the mastermind?" Yeah, it's just a different angle, a different marketing angle, to be honest with you. Like, we're not trying to be sneaky. Like, it was just a different way to pitch a specific section of the mastermind, but anybody that joined they're actually joining the mastermind. So it's just a different way to position some of the training within the mastermind. That's basically it. We tried it, and it didn't really help much. So it was just a different way to kind of promote for some people, because people hear mastermind and they think, oh, it's just another mastermind. Okay, well, that's fine, but it's not just another mastermind. That's where all of our SOPs are. That's where we have some training programs. Everything I prefer to put everything in SOPs, but we do have some just training programs because we've had a lot of whiners that don't want to pay for a separate SOP platform, even though it's significantly valuable and important for your business if you're running an actual business to have SOP software. So anyways, we've got some training in courses inside the Circle community, but the majority of our training is in SOPs. We have weekly webinars direct with me, discussion communities. We have all kinds of additional resources in the mastermind. But some people think of a mastermind as just another mastermind or whatever, and that's fine. So that's why we were trying to kind of just market different components of the mastermind as basically like a training program, when really it's just a training a component of the mastermind. Hopefully that's clear. Anyway, I'm not going to carry on with that any further. Is some or all of the hyperlocal lead content available in the mastermind? No, all of it's available, including everything else, just to be clear. All right, next is Suzaifa. He says, at what point in an email sequence do you ask for the map radius? After they reply to the cold email. That is in the automations that immediately, which is done now entirely through automation. It's after they've replied to the cold email. So we send the cold emails via instantly. When the cold email contact replies, when the contact replies to the cold email, I mean, then the reply comes in instantly, but then we have a webhook that pushes the contact into high level, and then the high level automations take over and send out the request for the service area radius. Okay. And it does that via email and SMS. We also have an AI voice agent that will call the contact if they don't reply to the email or the SMS. But we are going to have two. I'm working on that this week, actually, for our DHA program members, is cleaning those up to have two versions of those automations, one with the AI integration and one without, because the one with the AI integration has an additional cost. And as always, there's going to be members of my community or the group that are going to whine about having any additional costs. Okay, fine. We'll give you another version of it that's purely driven by high-level automation without the AI integration. But again, that's done entirely via automation after the cold email has been replied to. Okay, so it's that's the first reply that we receive from the contact. Then we send an automated acknowledgement reply to them that acknowledges the receipt of their response. Do you understand? And then a few minutes later, I don't remember what the wait step is. It's whether it's 7 minutes. Most of the time when I'm building a wait step in, it's like 7 minutes. So I think it's 7 minutes, but I've had Cecilia, one of our mastermind members, she's kind of a JV partner with me on some of this stuff. So she's been helping develop some of the automation. So I'm not sure if that's been modified, but there's a wait step. And then we send out another notification to the contact after the acknowledgement within just a few minutes, basically, that says, hey, by the way, as we're optimizing your listing, how far out do you go for work? And essentially, what is your service area radius in miles? And that's, we just ask them that via email and SMS. And again, we have an automation built in now with an AI agent, excuse me, that will do an outbound call if the email or SMS is not replied to within that same business day. It makes a call later that day. If it's after a certain time, then it schedules the call for the next day, so that we're not calling, the AI agent isn't calling, past like closed business hours or anything, like where it would be super late or anything like that. So all of that is again done all via automation. Just to confirm, should we get the top two performing? Just to confirm, we should get the top two performing LLG sites, then scrape all the businesses in our niche from those two states, list them in the directory, then start emailing them. Yeah, you can. And that's just, we'd like to populate the directory with a certain number of, there's not a set number. I just like to populate the directory with listings so that it can add relevance to the directory. However, there's two ways to do it. And I found that if you're just doing the import where like it's the same import template for the details in the listing description, let me see if I can demonstrate this for you guys. Because there's training in the mastermind about how to use GPT for Sheets to create, let's go to companies. GPT for Sheets, which is an extension and add-on in Google Sheets, that then you basically can take your contact list. I've got training in the mastermind for this, but you take your contact list that you've got from Outscraper or whatever it is that you're using, and you upload it to Google Drive, open it in Google Sheets, you enable the GPT for Sheets extension, and then I have a prompt that you use that again the mastermind members have access to, that in the first sheet of the Google Sheet, so the first sheet is going to be the contact list, and then in sheet 2, it's the prompting and that's where it integrates with Chat GPT for Sheets, excuse me. And then you click go, where you have to drag the formula down in the appropriate column. But once you do that, then it automatically creates unique business descriptions for every single one of the contacts in the contact list. And it does it with the prompt because it tells them to go. The prompt tells ChatGPT to go view the website. So it puts the URL in there. It gives the specific company name and the location in which the company is located. And then it says, go look at the website, extract the primary services and the service area locations that they service, and create a 2-paragraph description, unique business description about the business, and with a strong call to action to have the visitor or the reader to contact the company to schedule a free estimate. And so we just drag that formula down with the ChatGPT or GPT for Sheets extension enabled with the prompting and everything in that formula or whatever. And we just drag it down for the same number of rows as there are in the contact list in the first sheet. And then within a matter of seconds, you have hundreds or even thousands of unique business directory listings that are way better for helping the directory to index. So just to be clear, when we first started doing this, we were just using we didn't have AI at the time. So we were just doing an import template that was done via tokens from the shortcode or the tokens, the column headers from the contact list. So when we import the CSV, it parses out all the data based upon the column headers, and then we could go drag the token into the description area and say primary Google GB category, so tree service, in county, comma, state or region, because state is region, right? That kind of stuff. And so it was very basic, unoptimized directory listings that were all basically the same. And Google doesn't like that shit now. 5 years ago it was fine. I could index the hell out of the site now. But now most of those pages won't get indexed. And so now that's a shitty one there, but we do my VAs will do the directory listing descriptions. I don't know whether they use AI or not. I don't know, but you're typically doing AI. But the ones that were created originally, like if we go back into companies really quick and go to the last page, I'll just show you what I mean. The older listings, you'll see a lot of these are just very basic, and some of these have probably got broken header images too. That one actually looks like it had been updated at some point. But a lot of the ones that, see, it's got a broken image. I've updated the site a couple of times and some things have broken. Some of the older listings have not been corrected. But a lot of the ones that don't have much of a like a unique description, again, are going to be crawled but not indexed. If you look in Search Console, it'll say crawled but not indexed. And that means Google found the pages and thought they weren't valuable enough because they're so similar to so many other pages on the site that they don't want to index it. So ways that I've overcome that is a couple of things. Number one, this is the Link Whisper plugin so that it creates internal links to other listings. And then sometimes when there's nearby companies in that same area, there's a badge here that will do that. That helps those to index a bit. But to get back to the question, which was, do you populate the site? Yes, but I would recommend only doing mass population for a small number. It doesn't have to be 2 full states. Do it for 1 state. But make sure that when you're importing those listings that you're doing something like GPT for Sheets or something like that so that you can create unique business descriptions. Because if you populate your directory with directory listings that are all basically the same, Google will crawl but won't index, then you're actually going to lower the performance of the domain, your site, your directory site. So it's better to eliminate those generic listings and only put the listings in that have unique data assigned to each listing, if that's clear. A thorough description, separate photos, etc. Because then it makes it a higher quality listing, much more likely to be indexed, which will increase the value of the domain and its performance in search. Because of the helpful content update, guys, anytime you got a bunch of pages on the site that are crawled, not indexed, that lowers the quality score, therefore negatively affects the performance of that domain and all of its pages in search. So I've still got a lot of problems on TreeCare HQ that need to be cleaned up. That's not a joke. There's a lot of stuff because I've had it for 5 years. So a lot of changes have been made and there's still a lot of cleanup that needs to be done. But I don't really care because it's performing the function that I want it to, which is a conversation starter with the contractor. So whether the directory performs all that well or not, I really don't care. What matters to me is it starts the conversation with the contractor so that I can sell them on marketing services. Essentially, that's what it's for. right? So just to get, again, what we do is now we only, after your initial population, like once you populated a directory with the initial listings, one state or whatever it is, then all we do is only add new listings when we get a positive reply from a cold email, right? That way the directory is being populated with new listings that from only companies that we have direct communication with. So, and by the way, we get a lot of lead gen submissions for clearly their lead gen assets that SEOs are submitting to the directory, and we reject those. We reject them all the time. Now, I'm sure we've got a number of lead gen sites listed that that were done very well, so you can't tell they're lead gen sites, and that's all fine. But if we can clearly tell that it's a lead gen site, we do not include it. Just to be clear, because we know that the SEO is going to not respond to our cold email anyway, so why bother, right? Okay, moving on. So Alex says, hey, Bradley, I have EX Power listings on some of my projects, but the rank tracker is still showing less than 60-ish properties. Is this normal due to slow indexing? Yes. Or do you recommend building tier 2 links to power those power up those citations to get them index faster? Also, yes. Again, that's why we build all the links that we do to the ID page, which is what I was showing you guys over here, right? Because in that file, the link workbook, right? We build links to the ID page because the ID page has a reference to all of those directory listings, right? So business directory listings, citations, the X-Power listings, social media properties, press releases, all of that stuff is in this G sheet. And we build links to this because we want to push link equity into that, which will distribute to other URLs that are referenced in here, and it helps them to index. But you also might want to take the citation URLs and submit them to indexers, right? Do it several rounds. Google's slow to index everything right now. Something else is make sure that your directory listings are well optimized. If you're using Yext, that makes it easy. But the better optimized they are, the more likely they are to index, just to be clear. Okay. Nick says, I know that there's a ton of LLMs out there, and I'm not sure if you guys are intrigued by AI or not, but I was wondering what would be the best approach to have. Let's just say Grok, for instance, or Claude on prompting professionally on creating these service pages. I am aware that you told us to keep the homepage strictly about the business only, and service pages would probably reference service areas and vice versa. Service areas would mention service pages via hyperlinks and internal linking. My end goal is to quickly put up a site and get the impressions and slowly create better internal linking, if that makes sense. Not really. It doesn't fully make sense to me, but if you're asking, could you use a large language model to like wireframe out sites or build, HTML versions of sites and things like that? Sure. Yeah, of course you could, right? You could develop some prompts, a prompt chain, right? That would basically build a whole entire site, HTML code or whatever, however you want to do it. But yeah, I'm sure you can do it. 100% sure you can do it. And then it would be easy to deploy sites just using prompts. Like, I would probably just do it in HTML, have them develop an HTML site from the prompts, because then those are easy. You just upload the HTML files into the server and boom, you got your whole site. It's ready to go, right? No configuring needed. Yeah, that makes sense as far as having that so that you can slap up. If you can publish a whole bunch of sites or publish whatever, a whole bunch of sites very, very quickly in low competition areas, that's the quickest way you're going to get results. Because all you need to do is the more sites you can publish in areas that you've identified as low competition in whatever industry you've selected, the more sites you publish in low competition areas, the more the more sites you'll have that you can use as marketing or sales tools with no additional SEO work. You'll find there's always going to be a percentage of sites, as long as you're doing competition research properly, you're going to have a fairly decent percentage of the sites that you deploy that will start to rank without any additional SEO work. No backlinks, nothing. And so those are the ones that then you use as sales tools and you monetize them first, whether it's direct monetization or indirect. Remember, direct monetization is selling the site or rank and rent, so leasing it, selling leads from the site, or doing a revenue share model, something like that. So that is where you're directly monetizing the LLG site, right? Or the lead gen site. But an indirect monetization method would be to use it as a sales tool by showing that you're able to get results in a particular area to other companies that provide those same products or services in that area by just pointing to it in your sales pitch. Okay, look, I'm already outranking you for some of your products and services in some of the areas that you cover. I can do this for you. And I'll tell you what, if you sign up with me to do this for you and your business, I will assign any of the leads that come from this site to your company. That's indirect monetization, right? But it's still monetization, and it's still served the intended purpose, which was for you to create revenue from a lead gen site. You just created revenue by selling traditional retainer based services to a company by pointing to your lead gen site during your sales presentation. Does that make sense? So, in either case, yeah, the more sites that you can deploy in no competition areas, the more sales opportunities you're going to have. And then once you start selling and you start monetizing some of those sites, then what I recommend that you do is take some of the money the revenue that's generated from the sites that you have monetized either directly or indirectly, and start to invest a small portion of that into building links to the sites that are on the threshold of ranking, right? Because again, the more sites you deploy, you're going to have some that rank, some that are damn near ranking on page one, and some that aren't ranking well at all. The ones that are damn near ranking on page one would be the ones that once you start generating revenue from the ones that did rank quickly, you can roll some of that money into buying links and other, whatever other SEO efforts you want to invest in to help those get over the hump, so to speak, onto page one, which then makes those sales tools too, right? And then you go monetize those, and then you keep rolling it. So you bootstrap it up that way, right, from the ground up, and that's an easy way to do it. Okay. And I actually prefer people doing it that way than just throwing money at sites because they're not ranking yet. Because if you do that, then you could end up wasting a lot of money. If you follow the model that I just explained, you're only using money that was generated from this process to invest in boosting other properties, right? So you're not coming actually out of pocket because you're just reinvesting revenue that was only generated through this process. So it's just in my opinion, it's a better way to do it because it eliminates risk, really, for you, right? You're using other people's money to build your business. You get that? That's the whole point of it, guys. The DHA model is so that you're using other people's money to build your business. I learned that technique in real estate, right? How to use other people's money to buy and sell real estate. And I did that for, several years with houses, and then I did it for 2 years with vacant land. And I did quite well in that business. Not houses. I lost my ass when the when the real estate market crashed in 2007, excuse me. But in vacant land, I fucking love that business, man. And it was all about using other people's money to buy and sell land, right? And it was great. And so I just basically, when I learned that process, I modified that to local SEO and lead gen, and just applied that kind of concept to local SEO and lead gen. And that's where the DHA model was born from. Seriously. Right about the time that I started working on the DHA model for my own agency was right about the time that I quit flipping land as a side hustle because it was it was causing a conflict for me. But I just, for 2 years, I had kind of been flipping vacant land as a side business. And that's where I throughout that time, I kept thinking about, man, how can I apply this to the SEO industry? And so when I quit doing land flipping, that's when I started to apply that concept to the SEO industry in my own agency only. And that for about 2 years before I started talking about it to our audience, so to speak, because I wanted to prove it out first, and it absolutely works. So Nick says, I know my last message was pretty long, but I wouldn't say that I'm a professional SEO person, but I get the concept, and I just want to utilize AI as much as possible to quickly put something out there that gain traction for now, excuse me, and later create better pages. I'm in the HVAC industry in Chicago, and I can tell you the companies that are ranking their sites are very old, and they just possibly have good backlinks. Well, a lot of that has to do with brand authority. I've been talking about this for damn near 2 years, if not longer, guys. I've been talking about the two most important things in local SEO right now is brand authority, and the older, more established companies naturally have more brand authority because they've been established longer, right? And site efficiency is number two because of the helpful content update, basically. So those two, in my opinion, are the most important things: brand authority, site efficiency. And if you get those two things right, then you can have terrible SEO metrics in so many other areas of SEO, and still perform incredibly well in search right now, in local search. Okay. So anyway. All right, John, we got two more, and I don't know that we're going to get to any of the previously posted questions, but it is what it is, guys. John says, "Hey, Bradley, I love your updates on tree care projects you are working on. Can you give us a monthly progress update or even do a regular series about it?" Yeah, actually, I can, John, to be honest, because I think next Monday I'm going to start a state of local SEO weekly video series, which is just going to be me talking about current stuff that we're addressing or working through in the mastermind community on a weekly basis. So every Monday, my goal is, I think starting next Monday, every Monday I'm going to do a 10 to 15-minute video called State of Local SEO. And I'll be covering things that I'm doing in my own business and things that we're covering in the mastermind. So, and in the mastermind, because it's not a training program, the mastermind is live training every week. We're always talking about stuff that is current and important in right now. Like, it's very timely, if that makes sense. And so I want to do kind of a summary video of what we're doing in the mastermind every week. And what I'm working on is just kind of a state of local SEO as I see it every Monday. And it'll be about a 10 to 15-minute video. At least that's my goal. And I hope to start that next Monday. Okay. And that'll be published to our YouTube channel. So that might be something that I can do, is work in a section of that series where I talk about my own specific local SEO agency, Tree Care HQ, and things that I'm doing there. I appreciate the thought, because it's something that I could add to my list of things to consider. Okay. So thank you for that. They are very motivating to help me go through phases of setbacks, less the how-to, but more the improvements, metrics, financial, overcoming obstacles that motivates me. Yep, we can certainly do that. Flexi says, "How do you rank your sites without posting a lot of content?" Because you don't really need a lot of content. In some industries you do. It depends on what you're trying to do. In local SEO, most of the time that's not needed. It's not the content that's needed. It's proper structure and proper site structure, proper setup, proper brand authority, all the things I just mentioned previously. You don't need a lot of content for that. Google understands what the pages are about based upon the main optimization elements of the page. It's not about the content, not for local, at least not now. It may change again, but right now it's not necessarily the content. It's mainly the main optimization elements of the page. URL, SEO title, H1, headings, subheadings, internal links, and media. Those are the main optimization elements of the page. Content is filler. Content is like paragraph text is filler content between headings and subheadings. That should be optimized for conversions. In local SEO, that's my opinion. The content, so the paragraph text within pages, should be optimized for conversions, not for SEO. The SEO should be established through the main optimization elements of the page. Again, URL, SEO title, H1, headings, subheadings, internal links, media. Those are your main optimization elements of a page. Okay. And then remember, it's no longer, you can't just optimize at the page level anymore. We used to be able to do that as long as there wasn't a penalty against the domain. You could rank the shit out of one page, even if the rest of the site was terrible, it's garbage, as long as there wasn't a penalty against the domain. Now it's not the case, right? It's less likely anyways, because Google looks at each individual page as a small part of a larger whole, which is the website. And so Google takes the whole entire website into consideration now when it determines how to treat any individual one page. So it's important to have proper structure, proper internal linking, not just at the page level, but at the site architecture should be sound. You should reduce crawl resistance as much as possible to make the site efficient. I've talked about this already today on this call several times. Brand authority, site efficiency. Those are the two most important things, in my opinion, for local SEO right now. So if you have proper site, proper structure, proper architecture, it's going to be efficient. Do you understand? And so that you don't need a lot of content for that, which is how I prefer to build sites now. All right. Now, again, guys, there's always outliers. There might be certain industries where content makes a huge difference. Fine. Add more content in. We had a discussion about this. We're about out of time. We had a discussion about this in our mastermind last week because one of my members had gone from one side of the spectrum with 2,500 words per page to the exact opposite to 300 words per page because of my, what I've been teaching. And he said that, he sees some great results with organic ranking initially, but then over time it kind of stagnates a little bit and everything else. So he's reverted back to, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, right? Or old habits die hard. There's a number of cliches, but people want to start reverting to saying, okay, well, I better just add more content. If I just squeeze more words in this page. So now it's gone from, 300 words back up to 1,200 words or something like that. And we had a discussion about this in our group in the mastermind, the Build with Bradley meeting, because that's what that is a discussion group. And it was a great discussion. But I was like, instead of just reverting back to the default of I'm just going to add more words to the page and that's going to fix it, that's going to fix my SEO problems, just more words on the page. No, think about the helpful content update, guys. Like Eric Lancheras did a great write-up on this after the first rollout of the helpful content update. But pages that have engaging elements of the page, which forces or entices, encourages the reader, the visitor, to engage with the page. What do I mean? It's not words, it's not walls of text that people want to see. People want to click on things. So if you have an audio player on this page that is, and we did an example audit of a site that is ranking really well in local search right now that has no business ranking in local search, and it's not an exact match domain, but it's got some really unique things that are being done for on-page SEO that I broke it down in a mastermind webinar like 2 weeks ago. And I gave my assumptions as to why it's ranking well. And some of those were like, for example, there's an MP3 audio player with just a little speaker icon next to the heading tag for each heading, each section of the page. And when you clicked on it, all it was an AI voice reading of the paragraph text for that heading section, that section of the page. That's it. So each heading had a different icon, and it had just an uploaded file direct to WordPress media. So it was in the WordPress media library, just an MP3 player, right? It was just an icon that when clicked would play the audio of the AI voice reading the text from that section. And then having clickable elements like, something like a cost calculators, things like that, anything at all where you can add engagement to the page, user engagement to the page, other than just walls of text, that tends to perform really well in search right now. And so again, it's not about content, guys. It's about conveying the appropriate, what you want to convey to Google through the proper optimization of the page, which doesn't require a bunch of content to convey to Google what the page is about. Then optimizing the page for conversions, and then testing with different elements to see what produces a better result other than just big blocks of text, which is a very outdated way to optimize, in my opinion. Okay. So anyways, everyone always recommends more post content. Yes, I understand that, but that can also cause problems, especially on local sites, because I see it all the time in audits and competitive link analysis reports where the local business or the SEOs are publishing content, ridiculous amounts of content for the business, and so it ends up causing competing pages. I don't see cannibalization occurring anymore. It's potential cannibalization. But what I'm seeing instead is competing pages, which is where Google will find more than one page or post on the main website that is relevant to a particular search query. So it will serve more than one page from the same domain in the search results for that query, but none of them will be ranked as high as they would have been had it only been one page that was relevant to that query. When Google is unsure of what is the most relevant page or post to give an impression for a particular search query, at least right now, it's giving an impression for 2, sometimes as many as 3. I've never seen more than 3 pages from the same domain for a particular query. But none of them technically perform very well. Like if only one page was optimized for that query, then that page would likely have been given a much higher position in the rank results, the search results, if that makes sense. So if you can blog, you can add blog content to add supporting content, but you have to do it properly or else it will compete with top level service product or service pages that you want to rank, or location pages, depending on what type of project it is, if that makes sense. All right. It's a good question though. All right, guys, we're over time, so I don't think I'm going to have time to really cover much. Is there anything that I missed from chat?
Was just heading over there. Semantic Webmaster had a question.
Okay, cool. Hey, Bradley, do you scrape images for the directory listings and do you add them manually one by one for all listings? No. Well, as I talked about at the beginning of this webinar, we only do a bulk import on the initial publishing of the directory. And that's just to seed it with content, relevant, listings to to help Google understand what the site is about. And in that case, we do not. We do on a bulk import, we're not importing anything. We use the default image, which is the TreeCare HQ directory logo, the TreeCare HQ logo. It's a default image for all imported listings. But when we do, but after that initial import, all we do is add directory listings for those that have replied to the cold outreach, and that's done manually. And yes, we just go download photos from their website or from their Google Business profile. That makes sense, and they upload those photos. Okay. Let's see. Eric says, "Well, crap. Should I submit the question tomorrow in the form?" Eric, yeah, you can, but make a note of this right now. As soon as I get off this call, I'll try to find that for you. KG only. Like, see if I can find one other spot real quick. Give me 1 second. Adam, if you got to go, dude. I'm gonna
Yeah,
wrap
I'm
up
gonna
in
be.
just a minute.
I got 2 minutes, and then I gotta leave for date night, or I'm gonna be in big trouble. So.
I understand, dude. It's all right. I'll finish up here. Here's one of them. Let's see if this is proper. No, that's not the same. Here's one you can play with. I'm just going to put this in chat. This is a search query string that has the knowledge panel only in KGMID in the URL string. So you can play around with that a little bit. You can take elements out of that URL and then just go visit it, see how it changes the search results. Sometimes it's going to give you an error, says that it's not a valid URL, etc. But here's a version of the URL string. I'll put this in chat that you can play around with. And then, God damn it, if I can find the post about it in our mastermind community, I'll send it to you, or I'll make a note of it for next week, and then I'll cover it publicly with you guys. But there's an example. You guys can. I don't know. It looks like a redirect in chat, but I don't know if you guys copy that or not. In any case, take a screenshot of the URL that you see right there. Maybe that'll help. But you see, this is pulling in some different, like that's not the best, because it's pulling in other kind of URLs that aren't related to this company. So that's not the best one. That I do have a better version of it somewhere. It had changed, just so you know. And I did a post about it in the mastermind community, but I can't remember where it's at. So, all right. Michael says, true. It takes literally a few hours after launch a new site to outrank top sites with EMDs. It's crazy. You're right, Michael. It's 100% right now. I haven't seen EMDs rank like this in years. No kidding. It's unbelievable how I'm seeing some of these sites ranking with no backlinks, and they're among a crowd that has relevant, decent link profiles. How are they doing that? It's an algorithmic anomaly. It's a problem, an issue that needs to be addressed by Google. It's bullshit, honestly. I don't know how long it's going to last. I wouldn't count on it. Casey Key says, woohoo, good to see you, buddy. What's up, Casey? It was about the KP only. Knowledge panel only. Okay, that's fine. I'll see what I can find, and I'll post about it, Eric, next week. Okay. But yes, post the question again so I don't forget, and I'll go ahead and find that, and I'll cover it next week. KP only link. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap up. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everybody.
We do have a mastermind webinar tomorrow, so those of you that are in the mastermind, we'll see you then. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah.